Hello, 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 and welcome to the Rumble and Roar podcast. I'm your host, Lenoria, and this is Carrie.
Hello.
Carrie is my guest. I am so excited. Like I'm always, guys, when I have a guest, I'm super excited. We're going to dive right in. And let's see, this month is March, and I hope we post this in March, because sometimes when we do a podcast, anybody that is a podcaster know that when we do a podcast, sometimes it doesn't air into a couple of weeks or so later, and this is the end of March, but it's still March. And March is Woman History Month. Mm-hmm. So we are going to do HIV/AIDS awareness, and that's the month of March, right?
Yes.
Okay. Let me just tell you, my mother always said, if you can January and February, you can march on through.
I know that's right.
Girl, so what we gonna do? What we gonna do today? We're gonna march on through. Okay, so of course, if we're gonna talk about this, Carrie is very knowledgeable, guys. So if I don't know a lot, and it's okay, I'm going to read what I want to know, and then I'm going to, just ask a couple of questions, and we're gonna all learn. We're gonna learn today. All right.
Listen, I've been doing this for some time, and I'm still learning.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay. This is, you know what? I realized that people don't even talk about AIDS anymore. They don't. Mm-hmm. And I think they don't because they feel, well, I don't know why. They probably feel like that it's not a big deal anymore or something.
Well, because of the advancements in medication, and people are living long and healthy lives with HIV. Mm-hmm. So they're not seeing people dying left and right like they did back in the 80s or early 90s.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Mm-hmm. So that makes sense. That makes sense that people aren't talking about it.
They're not talking, and they need to not forget it. They need not to forget it because it's still real.
It's very real.
And it's affecting people. As a matter of fact, let's see. I know that people already know what AIDS is, and if you don't, we're just going to refresh your memory. Okay, what is HIV? A human immunity deficiency virus.
Yes.
See, I should have told her to say it because, look, y'all already know. I'll take a word and I'll chop that bad boy up. It's not that I can't read, but
it's a long word.
It's a long word.
Human immunodeficiency virus.
There you go. And it's a virus that attack the body immune system.
Yes.
Okay, and then it is not. If it's not treated, it can lead to AIDS, an acquired immunity deficiency syndrome.
Yes.
Wow. Ooh.
And so basically HIV is the first stage, and then usually it progresses over time if it goes untreated. So it takes some time before it gets to an AIDS diagnosis. But it doesn't have to. It does not have to. It does not have to. So that's why I encourage people to get tested on a regular basis, because the sooner you find out that you have HIV, the sooner you can get into treatment. And
just like cancer.
Yeah, exactly.
Early detection is always better.
That's key. That's key.
Let me see. Okay. The rate of Black females living with HIV diagnosis is 16.7 times more than white people. What the? Okay. Why is the rate so much higher than in Black women? And what can they do about it, Carrie? I mean,
so I think what bothers me, for one, it's an alarming statistic, right? But what I like to point out is that this isn't the fault of Black women. Black women tend to be deemed as promiscuous, and the same for Black men who have been hypersexualized for decades, even centuries, right? So we want to think, it's because of the sex that you engage in or how many people you're having sex with.
And that's what I thought. Is that ignorance?
So no, I mean, because there is some level of self-responsibility, right?
Okay.
But I would like to challenge that thought and think about the systems that are in place, and how that impacts Black women, health disparities, HIV. So I'm going to give you two examples. I'm going to give you two scenarios, and then I'm going to give you a personal example.
Okay.
So the first I want to think about is Black women who are uninsured. So those who are uninsured more than likely don't have, they have little or no income. They might work service jobs. They don't have the job where you can easily take off from work and still get paid. Like I can take off from work and use sick leave and not have to worry about it. So you think about people like that who don't have access to a lot of resources. They don't have the luxury of taking off from work.
They don't have free resources for people?
Well, you have resources like the health department, right?
Right.
And that might be your only resource in some cases.
Okay.
But most health departments don't have extended hours. So if the health department closes at 5 o'clock and you get off at 6, what are you going to do? Most of them don't have weekend hours. So that's the only time you probably have off. Yes. They don't have weekend hours. Although I will say there are some health departments in Metro Atlanta that are working to do some things a little bit differently to make their services more accessible. But for the reality of a lot of Black women, that's what's happening with them. So there's a system in place where you don't have free access to these places. Now let's think about a Black woman that's insured. So you're insured, you have your primary doctor.
But they don't go. They don't go to.
I would like to counter that.
Okay.
I think Black women with insurance do go to their doctor.
Okay.
The problem is doctors don't readily talk about HIV with their patients.
And let me ask you this: can your doctor test you for HIV or AIDS without your consent?
They have to get your consent.
Okay.
The problem is they aren't offering the test.
Why though?
Because your average doctor does not want to have a conversation about sex. That would require them to have a conversation that they don't feel comfortable having.
What?
Yes. So you think about, you have access to a doctor, you can take off from work, transportation isn't an issue, you can get to your doctor with no issues, right? Mm-hmm. They are in there for 15 minutes. And in that 15 minutes,
they talked about everything but that. You were so right.
And they're rushing you through, even if you have in your mind, you're like, when I see the doctor, I want to talk about the swelling on my knee.
Yes. Oh my gosh. You were so right.
You have in your mind everything that you want to talk about. I do
that every single time.
And then they're rushing you through it. So let's say you got 3 issues. Problem with your knee. You've been having these chronic migraines. Mm-hmm. And you know you haven't been tested for HIV in a while. Mm-hmm. They're rushing you through this. And let's say they can only get to 2 of your concerns. You're going to talk about that knee. And you're going to talk about your headache.
Yeah, especially the ones that are ailing you at that point in time. Yes,
exactly. So, and I say all that to say, these are systemic issues. So the issues around access, health department, is it on a bus line for those who don't have transportation? Right. Or if they're on public transportation, how long it'll take them to get to their health department. And again, I got to get back home because I got to pick up my kids from daycare. So all of these things that kind of hinder a person from accessing HIV prevention methods, that's all systemic. And all of that impacts health disparities, and not just HIV. Not just HIV, all of those things. So you think about maternal and child mortality. We are the ones that are being impacted the most, and it's all around the same thing.
Y'all better listen. You better listen.
Okay, so I told you I was going to give you a personal example. When I was pregnant with my baby boy, I think it was when I was pregnant with my baby boy. I was working in DeKalb County, and we were seeing a lot of babies born with syphilis at the time. And a lot of people think that syphilis isn't a thing anymore. It is very much a thing. And I was responsible for going to the hospitals, looking at these medical records for all of these babies that were being born with syphilis. So I'm pregnant, and I go in during my 3rd trimester visit, and it's that visit where in the 3rd trimester they go ahead and test you again for chlamydia and gonorrhea. And I asked my OBGYN, so you're not going to test me for HIV and syphilis today? Just because I know this is a
you know what you know.
I know what I know, and I know that they're mandated by law to do it. And this man looks at me with this
oh my God,
like alarm.
I have someone in here who knows.
Well, no, it wasn't that. It was, do you really think you need to be tested?
That's crazy. And see, that's why probably people are like, well, even when they say something, it's like he's looking at you like, okay, why would you want to be tested? Have you been
Right.
out there wilding out and all of that? So
Exactly.
you're already making somebody feel bad about
Making
it.
a lot
So
of assumptions.
no, they don't want to
Yes.
say anything else after that because you done already judged them.
Exactly. So I began to tell him at the time, I think the state of Georgia was like maybe number 3 in the nation for syphilis and number 1 in the nation for HIV. So when I started having this conversation around him, around
Georgia
this,
is still?
Oh, very much. We're usually in the top 5. Yes.
Is it because of the
No, let's get there.
We'll get there. Okay. I was just
and so, and I'm telling him these things, and he says, "Well, we don't usually see patients like that in here." In other words, no, our patients have insurance. They might have a little money or whatever.
What does that have to do with the price of tea in China? I think she missed me because I don't understand. What did he say that for?
I don't know. I don't know. But when I tell you enraged, yes. And so all of those things kind of contribute to why the rate in Black women is much higher than our white female counterpart.
Because the way they're making us feel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, well, Carrie, look, guys, I got a lot of questions and I wrote them down. Let me see, my number 2, how are Black women how do they contract the HIV? I mean, we're not stupid, don't get it twisted. I'm asking this question. We know that a lot of it is through sexual, but I think she has a lot more knowledge than just the plain having sex you get HIV. Let me hear what you
Yeah, so the majority of Black women that are contracting HIV, it is through heterosexual sex. However,
it's because somebody else bringing it to them. If it was hetero,
and it goes to us being able to have conversations with our partners about, am I the only person you're sleeping with? First and foremost, for a lot of us, we make a lot of assumptions when we're in relationships. But so let's first talk about the heterosexual sex, and then the second thing is injection drug use, where people are sharing needles, and we are seeing quite a bit of that. And so obviously HIV can be contracted that way as well.
Right. That's right.
Yeah. So, and I think there is this huge kind of storyline that people go with that, you're having sex with a man that has sex with other
That's
men.
what I was about to say. I was about to ask that.
Yeah, and I think there is some truth to that for sure. But in the work that we do, we have conversations about who they have been so if they've been diagnosed with HIV, we want to know who they have been sexually active with in the past year.
What if they lying and
that happens. That does happen. But women, for the most part, because for one, they're upset. They're just like, excuse me? Oh no, let me tell you, everybody I've been with, and usually it's 1 or 2 people, right?
Right.
When we have those conversations with those men, oftentimes it's not that they have been having sex with other men. Usually it's a bunch of other women. A lot of men still are having sex with individuals that are sex workers. So
sex workers? Mm-hmm. What does that mean?
So those who engage in prostitution.
Okay, guys, I'm not going to tell my age, but usually I say prostitution, I say whore, or I say trick, all of that. And she said sex workers.
Sex workers. Mm-hmm.
That's such a good... I'm going to start using sex workers. That's what I'm going to start saying, y'all. I'm so serious. Sex workers. The oldest daggone job in the universe, right?
Exactly.
Okay. My goodness, Carrie. It's just, I thought that, so I don't understand why people are still going out there, and I'm going to say it the right way. I'm not going to say raw dicking because that's not a right way to say it, but why are they still doing it raw knowing that AIDS is still real, though?
But again, just like you said at the beginning of the episode, people just aren't talking about it.
But we don't have to talk about it, but still, you're not, you got to have enough sense to not just go out there and just raw, because you know that what could happen.
Yeah. I mean, but if that's not at the forefront of your mind, you've met someone, you probably have fallen all the way in love. Like that's your boyfriend, real bad.
Guys, I'm not going to. Okay, we're gonna, like I often do, we're gonna take it for a moment, and then we're gonna come back. Did you, you probably have not, but there's this thing, actually we did a podcast on it, not last week, but the week before last, on, Who Did I Marry? Mm-hmm. Okay, and she was talking about how he was losing a lot of weight. I'm not sure if you saw all the
Yes, I
episodes,
did.
but he was losing a lot of weight, and he said it was from a knee replacement, or not. My bad. Correction. It was from his knee hurting him so very bad.
Right.
But I've never known a knee, because I've had knee issues and a knee replacement, and I know that it doesn't make you lose that kind of weight. Because she said he went from a 3X to almost a
medium or something.
a medium.
Really small.
So
Yeah.
the first thing I thought about was something was going on, because she did catch him. Well, not catch in the act, but she saw where he was doing a lot of things with other women and stuff. So I was thinking that might be a factor, and
I don't like to make assumptions.
right, it's not right.
I don't like to make assumptions. There could be a number of things, and I appreciate her, even if that was the case, and she knows that's the case.
She never said anything.
She never said anything,
right?
And I appreciate that about her, because
she was a very honest person.
Considering how hurt she was, she really could have gone that route if that was the case.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't want to make an assumption.
Right, exactly.
About that. But to your point, for individuals who are living with HIV and aren't receiving treatment,
and then they know it. I think some of them, isn't it where some of them know it and they don't say anything and they just go ahead? That's against the law, isn't it?
It's against the law, yes. And I have some thoughts around that, because I know quite a bit of people who are living their lives with HIV. And for people in that space, for them to be criminalized is hurtful. Because it's not so much, oh, I had sex with someone and I didn't tell them, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, there are some outliers. But ultimately, for a group of people who are living with HIV, and let's think about those who are in treatment, because we know that if you are in treatment and your viral load is undetectable, it's virtually impossible to transmit HIV to a partner.
In treatment means that you're taking
taking your medication.
Okay, and then you can have sex with other people without a condom.
Without transmit, it's scientifically impossible. So for people, and that's their reality, but to know that there's a law out there that basically criminalizes them from having sex, it's hurtful.
Oh, wait a minute. So even if they're taking their medication and they do and they are good,
right,
and they do something with someone else, they can
still be charged. Yes.
Why though? Well, I can understand. I can understand why, because you still maybe need to tell the person.
Oh, you absolutely need to tell a person. But for a lot of people, their reality is, I'm undetectable. I've had a conversation with my partner. They know, and we had sex, and at some point something went wrong in the relationship. And now they're headed to the courts to say, oh, this person is living with HIV and they didn't tell me. You know what I'm saying?
That's so bad.
And
That's terrible.
So I see your point, but then I also, because I have some very dear friends of mine, and I can't imagine. Well, I can't imagine, because think about it like this: you have a black son. Your black son leave the house and has an encounter with the police, and just because he is a black male, you know how that can go.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so the same thing with a person living with HIV. Just because I'm a person living with HIV, then my entire life can be criminalized. So maybe that example would kind of help people understand what they're going through.
Oh, Carrie, how long can you live with HIV without? I mean, because sometimes you could, if I can remember, because you can get it and not even know you have it, right?
Yeah.
How long can it last in your body?
But the key is, if you're being tested,
you can catch it, just like cancer. That's right. That's right.
So, and I think that's a huge misconception, where I think it's this term laying dormant, and people think, oh, it's laying dormant and you can have it for years. If you have been tested, that test is going to pick it up. We have tests right now that can pick up an early infection as early as 21 days from the time that you got it. So there's no excuse. There's no laying dormant. If you get tested on a regular basis and you have contracted it, you're going to know. You're going to know for sure.
Okay. Well, number 3, how can women talk to their sex partners about the risk of transmitting the HIV and other sexual transmitted infections. How can they talk to them? I mean, I would be so uncomfortable if I was with somebody I really liked and we have not done anything and we've been together for a couple of months and now it's getting really, really good and we are loving each other and having a good time, and here it is time for me to say to them, I don't even know how I would be able to start that conversation out, Carrie. How can you start that conversation out with somebody?
It's so different for me just because I live and breathe this, so it's very easy for me. But I understand for those who they aren't in this space, and so I can understand it.
I was actually just thinking in my mind of other people because I'm a very assertive, and some people have even said that I'm intimidating. It doesn't matter because when you really know me, you know me. I'm actually a gushy, sensitive person. So. A gushy, sensitive person. I'm not gonna let you run over me.
Right.
However, when I meet you, I need to know because I'm gonna ask you. I will, but I'm thinking of people that are really just
maybe timid.
Yes. And can't talk or scared to say stuff like that.
Well, my thing is, for one, the conversation needs to take place.
Has to.
Before you have sex. And that's an ideal situation, right? Like you said, you just meeting someone, you're dating, you're hanging out or whatever. So ideally, before that sexual tension is so high, you don't want to wait until you're in the bed and like, hey, when was the last time you were tested? Like, no, we need to have this conversation.
That's a birth control right there. Dick will go limp. I didn't mean to say that, guys. Oh my God,
that's the
we
truth.
have to cut that.
No, that's the truth. That's the truth.
Because that's the wrong place to say it. But
right, and so the conversation needs to happen before you get to that point, right? And it's as simple as, hey, when was the last time you were tested for STIs, including HIV? Right? Because sometimes people will just leave it at, when was the last time you've been tested?
And when you ask somebody that, and they get offended, or they get...
That's a red flag.
Bam.
Red flag.
Or they feel like, okay, why you asking me something?
Red flag. Red flag. And I can honestly say, I don't know that I've ever been with a guy who got offended by that. Either they said, oh, I was tested then, or man, it's been a while. And then that just kind of...
Yeah, let me know. It's been a while. Let's get it recent.
The conversation just continues, but I don't think I've ever encountered someone who just got in their feelings about it.
Yeah, what are you implying? Why are you asking?
And if so, again, red flag.
No problem. It's all good.
Check, please.
Yeah, no. And I'm not paying.
I can wrap this up. But yeah, that conversation needs to happen, and don't just leave it at, when was the last time you've been tested? When was the last time you've been tested for HIV and other STIs? Because think about it. Sometimes people will go, let's take for a woman as example, they go and they get their pap smear.
Right.
And they just assume, because they were in there swabbing, that they also checked for chlamydia and gonorrhea. Well, pap smear is just looking for cancerous cervical cells.
Well, that's true. That is so true.
And so you need to be very specific. I also want to
test everything. You down there and you ain't going back down there.
Chlamydia, and call it out. Chlamydia, gonorrhea. I want a blood test for HIV and syphilis. And so when you're having that conversation with your partner, that's what you need to be asking them. And if they haven't been tested in a while, oh, guess what? We can go together. Let's go and do that together. Because let's say it's been almost a year for me. Okay, yeah, it's about that time. Let's get something scheduled. And in Metro Atlanta, they actually have, some of the health departments have free HIV self-test kits and free STI kits as well.
Wait a minute.
Yes.
There's HIV kits?
Oh, yeah.
So sort of like the coronavirus kits? So, how do you do it? Swab?
So for HIV, it is a mouth swab. It's so important. This is the only thing that bothers me about the mouth swab. You have to make sure that you have not had anything to drink, eat, or you haven't smoked, I believe, in like 30 minutes before the test.
Okay. That's not bad.
No, it's not bad, but I have to remind people of that. But it's a mouth swab.
Okay.
I mean, the instructions are literally a elementary school kid can follow the instructions. And the test is processed and you get your results in 20 minutes.
That is good information, guys. I did not know that. And if you did, okay, good. But if you didn't, this this is really good because, I mean, in case you are afraid to go or you just don't want anybody to know or whatever the case may be, you need to know for yourself because there are things that I'm going to get to them, Carrie, where the symptoms that you have, they're pretty much like all the other symptoms of other stuff. And you might think you got coronavirus when actually you got AIDS. Or you might have, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I did not, I mean, HIV, that's right. See, she's saying it right because you don't get AIDS until HIV has taken a progress. See? Yeah. She's doing it right, and I need her here. Thank you, baby.
No problem.
What is, can we talk about the PrEP?
PrEP. So, PrEP is pre-exposure prophylaxis, and it's a medication that it's for individuals who are not living with HIV, and it's to protect them so that they won't contract HIV. It's amazing. It's amazing. So it's 99% effective for sexual activities and like 74-75% protective for individuals that use injection drugs.
When did they come out with this?
Over a decade ago.
Well, so why, if I had not researched this, I would have never known.
Why?
Because I don't know.
What was the first thing we talked about? The systems in place and who it benefits.
I never would have known to look it up.
So PrEP, there are 2 oral medications that are approved. So the first is Truvada, and the second is Descovy.
Do you have to take it all the time?
So ideally you want to take it every day, but there are some ways where they call it on-demand PrEP, and I feel like I'm going to mess this up. But let's just say, your partner lives on the West Coast, and you all only see each other every few months. Okay. So, and you're not sexually active with anyone else on this coast. So you wouldn't necessarily need to take PrEP every day. But you know, he's coming sometime soon, right? So I feel like it's 2 days before, 2 days the day of sexual activity, and 1 day after. Oh God, I feel like I'm gonna mess that up. But you know what? It's what we call on-demand PrEP. So only when you need it. Take it. So that's an option.
So if the guy is there with you, you want to take it every day because you're sexually active often.
Yes. Then there is a third option, which is an injection, which is amazing for those who don't like to take pills. So kind of going back to what we talked about systems.
Guys, that is crazy.
So then we talked about systems and how systems don't necessarily benefit Black women. PrEP has been a thing for over a decade.
So why?
Who has benefited from PrEP? White gay men. White gay men have benefited the most.
Are you guys listening?
Years later, then our Black gay men have benefited from it. And women, and in this case, Black women, we are like the bottom of the barrel. And why is that? It's because pharmaceutical companies have promoted this for gay men, knowing that there are benefits to women taking PrEP. And so it just all goes back to things not being designed for us.
Carrie, why? I'm just going off to the left for a minute, guys, and just excuse me. I'm a Black woman, and why are we always at the last? Why are we at the bottom of the totem pole? Why all the time?
In every respect.
Everything.
In every respect.
This is crazy. Oh my goodness! I just had to throw that in.
So yeah, do I recommend it for Black women? Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely.
Especially if you are
sexually active. I think anyone who is sexually active can benefit from PrEP.
So wait a minute. Okay. Do you have to pay for that thing?
So some people can get it to little or no cost. Thanks to the Affordable Care Act, insurance companies are responsible for covering it. Free? They are responsible for covering it at no cost. The thing is, they are trying their best. We catch hell. They are trying their best not to, but they are required to. How long that's going to be, I don't know. I honestly don't know.
Oh, I hope some of you guys looking at this will understand and know that if you need this, get on it.
Please.
Get on it and do your due diligence. I mean, look it up and Google and get your knowledge on this.
It's not for everyone, but I like you said, look it up. Talk to your doctor. I encourage women because, like I mentioned earlier, doctors aren't initiating these conversations. So we have to advocate for ourselves. And talk to your doctor. Hey, I heard about this. This is something I might be interested in. Do you have any thoughts on it? And if they're not trying to hear it, then it's probably time to change doctors, because every doctor should listen to your concerns.
Yes, yes. Are there side effects on that? Do you know what?
There are very minimal side effects, and usually they kind of wane off after a couple of weeks. So usually like some GI issues people have expressed, but it doesn't last long. And it's kind of like outliers. Like, I think the entire time we've been offering PrEP at our health department, maybe a handful have been like, yeah, it was just too much for me. And they didn't like wait a few more weeks until it kind of died down. But just very minimum side effects.
I hope y'all heard that. Okay, I have another one. Let's see. How often should we be getting tested for HIV? And what advice do you have for those who are scared to get tested?
I would say at least once a year. At least once a year. For those who maybe have a new partner, then you probably don't need to wait a year. You probably need to get tested as you're entering into a new sexual relationship. And so that might be, I don't know, every 3 months, every 6 months, but definitely once a year. I just make it a part of my annual visit.
Yes.
When I have my physical,
yes,
or when I go to my OBGYN and I have my pap smear and everything else, knock it all out once a year. And for those who are scared about getting tested, in my mind, I can't imagine anything scarier than having a disease and not know it.
You better say it,
because what can you do if you don't know that you have something?
What should scare you is that you're gonna die if you don't. If you let it keep progressing and going worse and worse and worse.
Because one thing about HIV, you don't die from HIV or you don't die from AIDS.
Oh, you don't? Okay.
No. You die because your immune system can't fight off other things.
But that's what I thought. That because I gotta tell this story, and this is when HIV was introduced to the world. I mean, we just started hearing about it when I say many moons ago, and I remember this one girl killed this guy because he knew that he had AIDS and he slept with her. And told her, they got to fighting and whatever, and he said, well, that's why I gave you AIDS. Sure enough, yes, look, this happened. This is not a made-up story. So she went and got tested, and you know, and she wasn't that one that, oh, so that's what you did? Oh, so you think you're going to get away with it? You think you just going to kill me? You know, because back in the day when we first heard about it, we thought that you die when you get it.
Right.
You know, ignorance, you know, when you don't have knowledge. This girl got a gun and blew this man's head off, killed him. They locked her up, and of course she's been in jail. I think she's passed away by now. If I'm not mistaken, I remember her friends, you know, closer to her said that she passed. But I'm not going to go more into detail because I'm not calling no names or whatever, but that's a true story. That man knew he had AIDS and gave it to her, and he was just... That's terrible.
And again, that's where the personal responsibility comes in at. I don't trust anyone like that. I do not have sex with an individual until I know what their status is. And I'm a little privileged because I can literally test a person myself. Oh, you haven't been tested? Oh, you don't know when you can get to a doctor?
I got you.
The next time I see you, I'll test you.
I got you. I got you. Wait a minute. I want to pull something out of my pocket like they did on the what is that show? Bam.
Right. Exactly. Like, it ain't no escaping it. So I understand the privilege that I have. And everyone isn't in that space. But if have these conversations up front, and then if you're already in a relationship and already sexually involved with someone, it's never too late to have that conversation. Like, yeah, boo, I know we've been at it 7, 8, 9 months at this point. You know, I know during that time I haven't been tested for any STIs or HIV. What about you? Oh, you haven't either? Let's go ahead ahead and make an appointment. It's never too late to have
And what
that
if they say, well, no,
conversation.
I don't want to. I just don't.
Okay, well, and I know I have invested 8 months of my life, but now it's time to go.
It's time to go.
It's
Bye.
time to go. Because your
Ain't no-
sexual health has to be just as important as your physical health, your mental health. Like, I know there's levels to things, but my sexual health is right up there with everything else. So I know was that on camera or off camera when I talked about the knee? Was that on camera? That was on camera, and I was like, I got a problem with my knee and a problem with my head. The problem, if there's a problem with my lady parts,
Right.
that's just as important.
Just
as important.
Yes.
Yeah. So and so that's my suggestion. If you're scared about getting tested, what is scarier than not knowing something's wrong with you and therefore you can't treat it?
But people are scared because if they find out that they actually do have HIV, to get some news like that.
Devastating, of course.
Yes, and then all kinds of stuff. I know back in the day when that stuff was out, it was just devastating. But to even today, when you have all of these things that, like the pill you could take, and this the others, the PrEP, you still, it's like, I got a disease.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, it's devastating. Absolutely. But if there's any consolation, it is that the technologies and the medication is like amazing. So you remember back in the days, people were taking what they called cocktails. They were taking like multiple pills, sometimes 10 pills, several times a day.
That.
Yeah, they would call them cocktails. There are individuals who are down to just one pill a day. There are individuals who are down to an injection every other month or every 3 months. So, and these things, again, are allowing people to live long, healthy lives. These people are going to pass away, but it won't be from complications associated with HIV.
Everybody's going to pass away.
It's going to be...
We come and we leave.
It's going to be that car accident.
Ooh.
It's going to be something else. But
Yeah.
if you understand your status and if you're living with HIV, you don't have to be concerned about, oh, this is it. This is the end.
Oh my gosh, guys. This information right here was like a piece of gold. Come and watch this podcast because you can get a piece of this gold. I did have this much of knowledge on HIV AIDS. I mean, just like probably a lot of you back in the day, we just knew about a little bit.
And what we heard from other people.
Right.
Nothing really scientific.
Oh.
Just from what we heard from a neighbor or a family member, and a lot of that stuff was misinformation.
Carrie, when I say I thank you so much for coming on to my show. Yes. And I hope you will come back and
Absolutely.
And if I have more questions that you could answer, but these were, oh my, guys, these were top of the line. And I know you might not leave a comment. I hope that you do.
Leave a comment.
Right. And if you have questions and you just wanted to know the answer to them, and she might know it, just, DM us and ask a question about it, and she'll be more than happy to let you know. And we could leave some information if you like, your information, so they could, or could they?
Sure.
Okay.
You can follow me on Instagram at Carrie, KarrieMPH.
All right. Well, with that said, guys, feel the rumble and listen to the roar, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for tuning in. Bye-bye.